welcome to the AV Exchange presented by Starin. I'm your host, Joe Dunbar. It is Thursday, December 5th. We're getting to the end of the year. I believe this is the last AV Exchange of the year. I'm trying to think of synonyms for excited, because I come in here every time and talk about how excited I am, but it's true. It's genuine. This is a brand that I have a lot of passion for, and I'm super excited. We have Bose Professional in the house today. Relatively new partnership. We just got them launched on our line card. We've got a couple of experts in the house that we're going to talk to. Before we dive into things, let's just take a quick look at the agenda. As always, you guys, this is about you and the audience and what you guys want to know about Bose. So your questions help us drive the conversation. What we have planned for you guys today, we've got the team from Bose Pro in the house, a couple of experts on different sides of the business. We're going to talk about some enterprise solutions. I know the EdgeMax speaker is on my list of questions, and something that is kind of near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk about some large format stuff, so the arena match, the show match, and kind of how those things fit into the market, some portable solutions and amplifiers as well, because I think it's a lot of times people don't even really realize or remember. It's an easy thing to forget when you think about an audio company and the speakers they put out, that there's other solutions as well, and some software, all the good stuff. Before we jump into all those weeds and get everybody introduced, it's the usual housekeeping things. I am going to launch a quick poll. Yes, I am. It was up. It was ready. Here it goes, you guys. I'm going to launch the poll for everybody. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. One, how familiar are you with Bose Pro here? And two, just kind of where you fit into the market segment. This just helps us know who we're talking to, so we're not talking, super high level geek stuff if everybody here is in sales or marketing or whatever the case is. So we appreciate your participation there. Q&A for the questions in the webinar. Please use the Q&A for the questions. If you put them in the chat there, it's easy for them to get lost. And that brings us to the chat. I love to hear where everybody is. I am often referred to by people on our team as the AV nomad. I am in Southern Nevada right now. It is beautiful and sunny. A couple of the guys on the team are dealing with snow, so I feel bad for them, but hey, what can you do? Go ahead and sound off in the chat. Let us know where you guys are from, and keep the conversation going there anytime. We appreciate that. We already hit the poll, and at the end, if you've done this before, we'd like to do a giveaway and just a little reward for you guys giving us your time, because we know it's valuable. We've got a $50 Amazon gift card that we will raffle off. If there's nothing and no interaction, we're going to pick a random person on a wheel that we have on the website, but I will give extra points for people bringing in good quality questions to keep the discussion up and moving. So please do go ahead and throw your questions in the Q&A for that. And without further ado, we've got a couple of faces from the Bose Professional team. Steve, Dave, John, welcome you guys. I want to give you guys each an opportunity to start by introducing yourself and telling us what you do for Bose before we jump into that. So why don't we go in that order? Steve, Dave, John, if you guys would introduce yourselves.
Well, thank you. And happy holidays to everybody. I'm Steve Miller, work for Bose Professional. I've been with Bose Professional for just a little bit over 25 years. So I've had a lot of different roles in the company. I'm out in the Midwest, not dealing with snow, but we got plenty of cold stuff. But my role specifically is I work with Dave Curran with U.S. distribution, and I also work pretty closely with the national accounts that we have throughout the U.S. and Canada.
Awesome. Dave.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Curran. I am the distribution account manager for Bose Professional. I've been with Bose Professional for a little over 5 years now. I live just outside the Boston area, right near our headquarters in Framingham, Massachusetts, and it is snowing here. Winter is upon us, finally. Really excited to be here today. My role, I'm the main point of contact for Starin. So I manage our relationship. But I also am a resource for you, for the integrator, and for anyone that may need assistance with Bose Pro.
Appreciate it. John.
I'm John Schmidt. I've been with Bose for 4 out of the last 6 years. And I am the regional sales engineer for the East Coast. So basically everything from Pennsylvania down to Florida and then out to the Central Time Zone. I'm also the team lead for the sales engineering team and manage the design center.
Oh, awesome. I know we're going to talk about that. Appreciate the introductions, you guys. I'm going to end the poll real quick. I want to say thanks and shout out to everybody for participating in that and just giving us a little snapshot about who we're talking to and kind of your experience level with Bose Pro. Looks like most folks are relatively familiar with Bose. About half of the attendees are, somewhat familiar with Bose, a couple of Bose Pro. A couple folks are a little new and a couple folks are very familiar. Maybe we'll call them power user kind of level folks. A mix of representation throughout the channel, some end users, reps, manufacturers, and things like that, but primarily systems integrators. The questions, you guys, will drive the conversation. So if we're off topic on something you want to know about it, please do drop those in the Q&A. Otherwise, we will get the discussion going. Steve, John, Dave, a couple of you guys in here. I'm going to let you guys decide who wants to field these questions, but Bose is one thing and Bose Professional is a different thing. And I think it's good for us to just set the stage on kind of where we fit in the channel and what you guys are and what you guys are not. So who can elaborate a little bit for us and introduce us to Bose Pro?
Well, we may all have a nugget of information for you, but I probably try to keep it brief for you. But obviously, it's a very extremely well-known name across the globe. But there's always been there's this a difference between Bose Pro and the consumer side. And as of about a little over a year and a half ago in the US, Bose Corporation and Bose Professional became two completely different companies. One of the main reasons behind that was really you could sum it down to focus. Excuse me. So Bose Professional, in a very fast-moving industry, needs to be very nimble on product development and working with other manufacturers and working with integrators. And Bose Corporate, which is obviously has a focus on the consumer line for headphones and sound bars, et cetera. So they're very different, and we both needed to move fast. So it made more sense to work on our own separate, obviously, businesses. And as of, like I said, about a little over a year and a half ago, the U.S. stood up basically as its own company, and about a little less than a month ago on a global level. So all of our offices across the globe are now under Bose Professional. So we've just recently started opening new offices in Dubai, APAC, all over Europe. Getting ready to open the new office right outside Framingham, Mass. I know they're probably moving in now, actually. So we look to have a much larger and improved experience center, and looking forward to getting out there and probably in the next couple months. It's
a tough time of the year to be moving in to a place in Northern Mass. So
yeah, definitely.
We feel for those folks. Is it fair to say, I know we're going to talk about it a little bit because it's a huge focus of the solutions and how they come to be. Is it fair to say that like the mentality and the R&D and the attention to design and everything like that and the culture and focus on that still kind of carries into Bose Professional, it being its own entity?
I would, yeah. I would definitely, Dr. Bose had built a tremendous culture with a very engineer-centric company. And as it was private, it was able to actually create its own pace and development and really making some very unique products over the years. And we've all seen that, whether it's the consumer side or the pro side. But when we got into, again, as we transitioned over, we wanted to make sure we were definitely bringing best practices that we've had under Bose Corporation over to Bose Pro. But at the same time, getting to implement new strategies, new ideas. We've got a number of people from different manufacturers that now work with Bose Professional. So you have a lot of new, fresh ideas and different views on how to approach things. So it's an exciting time. I guess it's appropriate to say the elves are busy right now. There's a lot of new product that's in development. So we're looking forward to ISE, Infocom, and making an exciting next year coming up.
It's about to be that season, right? I guess ISE is right around the corner. Diving into some products, you guys, and some solutions. There's a couple that I have on my list that I really want to talk about. I'm eyeing up my notes kind of in our conversation here and deciding where to start. I really the Edge Max speaker, I really want to talk about this product for a couple of reasons. One, I think it is largely misunderstood, and I know this is anecdotal a little bit because it's tied specifically to like my experience. But I wasn't quite fully sure what that product really was and what it really did until the first time I heard it. And you know, we've talked amongst ourselves how it can be a little difficult to describe, but absent of people being able to join us in a room here and be able to listen to it for themselves, which without question, that proof is in the pudding of what an amazing product it is. Can somebody just give us a high level kind of introduction of that product, you know, and what it is and where it fits quick, right?
Yeah. So EdgeMax was originally thought up as a way to basically do a ceiling speaker system from the edge of the room. But once it got developed and actually put into practice, what we found is it actually functions and sounds like a surface mount loudspeaker that lives in the ceiling. So the way I try to describe it to people is wherever it is in the ceiling, it sounds like a surface mount loudspeaker a foot lower than that firing into the room. So its coverage is straight down and then up 75 or 85 degrees, depending on which model it is. But what that lets you do is get that surface mount performance that you want that gives the localization towards the sound source and directionality to everything, but without having visible speakers. So in conferencing applications, you can land it above the display. You now have your sound coming from the display. People are talking from the right place, but you don't have a visible speaker. Same thing, you can put it above a projection screen and now you're not having to fight with that. We see applications with large video walls that take up the entire wall. You can now put speakers at 1/3 increments across the video wall and get sound coming from the wall. They also perform really well as under balcony loudspeakers because you get the performance of having that directional speaker at the ceiling level, but without anything actually protruding from the ceiling.
That's an application I guess I had never really even thought of. That's so cool. I have experienced it, and it's always been kind of a corporate and enterprise setting. So I had never even considered that type of an application for it. What an awesome place to put a speaker like that. John, this might be a follow-up for you, but certainly Dave, Steve, you guys are welcome to chime in if you got something to add. I'm curious about, what went into the development of that speaker. Obviously, the Bose Pro team identified a problem and wanted to develop a solution for it, which became the Edge Max speaker. Can you talk a little bit about that story and how it kind of came to be?
Yeah, Steve, I think you were around for more of that. I came on right around the time it was being launched. So if you want to field that.
Yeah, well, during this development, the concept was obviously all manufacturers, when they're coming out with new products, are trying to create a solution. So there's a problem within our industry or our design approach, let's find a fix. One of the issues that comes up is that in applications, whether it's a restaurant, hotel, it really doesn't matter. It could be an airport. There are different areas that have space that you would like to put speakers if you were doing ceiling or surface, but you don't have the availability to because of architectural designs, lighting, whatever that may be. So how do you appropriately provide sound coverage in those areas? So the approach was to be able to go in the ceiling, but along the edge of the wall and actually have an asymmetrical pattern into the room. So the higher that ceiling is, the more throw that we're able to get from that speaker. So in addition, being able to provide not just a speaker that can do voice lift, but full range capability for music, again, whether it's a hotel, restaurant, university, it's a good full range speaker that provides coverage in areas where it may have been a bit more difficult in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we get any of you guys, it doesn't matter if you want to can somebody pull up a visual? It could be the website or something.
Yeah,
PDF.
Give me just a second.
Steve's got a great call out. We're sitting here talking about a product that not everybody has seen. And
like we said, it can be sometimes a little hard to articulate what is, especially if you've not seen or heard it before.
Yeah.
Let me grab.
I jumped out with the most, I feel like probably the most difficult to discuss product right out of the gate. So it should theoretically, you guys, get easier from here in terms of the product themselves to speak about. And also, I mean, to your point, the Edge Max speaker is really designed to not stand out and not necessarily or more so to not stand out and to blend in. So seeing a visual, you really shouldn't see it at the end of the day. You want to hear it, but the design is definitely unique in terms of the grill, or not the grill, but the way the speaker design. It's not a typical speaker like we've seen before, where you just have a cone and a covering for it.
Steve,
So
do you
go ahead.
have a shot of the front of the speaker, or of the speaker without the grill on? Yeah, because whenever we talk about Edge Max, it's always hard to show application photos because the entire point is that you can't find it.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it's got that really unique look on the front of it. I'm not entirely sure where this animation's going, but that fan-shaped waveguide on the front is actually kind of the magic sauce behind it. These actually have a compression driver as opposed to like a dome tweeter or something like that, which is partially so we can get the directionality we need, but also means it works. It puts out a phenomenal amount of sound, which is why we can use it as an under balcony in an auditorium, because it can keep up with a larger PA. But that fan shaped thing, it's called a phase guide. It actually has a plate that grabs the wavefront off the compression driver and aims it down. And then those slots take that wavefront that's now going down and aim it into the room, kind of direct it into the room, with phasing and timing designed by people that know more about physics than I do. And then that white membrane that you see on there is actually gain shading it. So the person who's right under the loudspeaker isn't being blown out, but you can still throw all the way to the back of the space.
Wow.
And what we're seeing right here is the 90-degree version. It actually designed to mount in the corner of the room. We also have the 180, and that's the one we use more often than the 90. We'll use the 90 when people are looking for like a true stereo field coming from the corners of the room. I've done spaces where we do 5.1 surround using 90s in the corner and a 180 as a center channel.
Cool.
Just fun applications like that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I can show you some quick install looks if you want to take a.
Yeah, that actually ties in. While you pull that up, we got a question from George, which is a great question. George wants to know if there's any best practice when it comes to how far away the 180-degree model of the speaker should be from one another, because we did talk about a couple of these in a scenario, particularly a video wall scenario is what George is asking about, and we did kind of allude to earlier. So I don't know if somebody wants to.
So a lot of that's going to come down to what you're trying to accomplish and what your ceiling height is. If you're actually trying to get stereo imaging out of it, then it's just based on where you need that stereo image to happen. If it's distributed mono, then it's going to vary depending on ceiling height, because the speaker throws farther in a higher ceiling. But as a general rule of thumb, I'd say like 1.5 times your ceiling height would be if you're looking for distributed mono, 1.5 times your ceiling height is about as close as you'd want them to be.
Okay.
You can see this is, a distributed background music system covering that large open lobby, but covering it from the low ceiling area.
I'm checking that out now. There was, looking at a couple of these looks here, there was one conference room with a ceiling mic in there, and it's crazy. We almost have to point it out because, again, this is so discreet.
Yeah. And this is a spin studio where they're running super high SPL, and we just put a bunch in the ceiling above the bikes firing at the people, at the class. And there's actually a stereo pair above the instructor as fold-back monitors. But their mic isn't in those, but it is in all of the others. So they're not having feedback issues, but they can still crank the music up and they can hear it. But then the sound of their microphone doesn't start until in front of them. So you can turn the system up real loud and you get the instructor really loud without having to worry about feedback.
I really appreciate you guys showing us these visuals. I think this does a couple of things here. One, thanks for the question, George. That's a great question. And the response, I think, gives us a good idea of how to qualify these projects and kind of the things you're looking for. Is this going to be a stereo or mono application? Are we, how big is the wall? What kind of height are we dealing with? And that's information we can bring back to the team at Bose to help us decide where all these things should go and kind of what the coverages look like. The other thing that I think is just so cool here, you guys have really opened my eyes up here to the variety of applications. I mean, this is truly a commercial audio product and not really restricted solely to where we end up so many times as conference rooms or classrooms or something like that. This is you're using these in full distributed systems.
One thing to point out here, which is a big benefit, whether you're using this in a conference room or application like this, where you have such a dynamic and strong visual image that you want to keep the attention towards this approach here on the design. You can see that the Edge Max are placed out front. Really allows the localization of the voice and music to match the visual versus being distributed over your head. So this is a large application of that type of sort, but the same benefit applies to a corporate, conference room as well.
Right.
Yeah. And we actually had an install at Gillette Stadium in some of the private boxes. They have them above the glass in the door. So when you're standing in the private box, the sound is still coming from the field, but there's no speaker blocking the view. You don't see any loudspeakers attached to the wall. But you can get that feel that sounds coming from the field.
That's so cool. Not that it's a regular practice of mine. I have been fortunate enough in my life to be in some boxes in different arenas and stadiums, and exactly what you're talking about as an AV person was kind of the first thing I noticed, because we walk into the room and immediately I'm looking for all that technology. Surface mounted speakers just being kind of in the way was something that I kind of caught.
Or you've got a ceiling mount speaker, so the sound's coming from behind you while you're watching a game in front of you.
Super frustrating. So a variety of applications for the Edge Max speaker. I could probably sit and talk about this product all day. I won't make everybody deal with that. We did get a quick question from Daniel, which is a great question. Daniel had asked if there are any demo sites to show. Oh, I copy and pasted wrong. Any demo sites to show clients and see what this is. And I think we could probably answer that if anybody can elaborate on options for demo for these types of products and or, popular sites. They clearly are out there. Gillette Stadium is one. Go ahead and take your customer there, right?
Yeah, they're being applied in national like retail accounts, restaurant. I've seen them in main event, like the bowling, the family entertainment.
We have them in one of the concourses at Denver International Airport.
And I just had an in the wild experience at Logan. JetBlue just opened a new terminal, and it's covered in Edge Max speakers, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome. And I tell you what, if you're flying out east, obviously Logan's a hugely popular airport. If you're flying anywhere Midwest to West, there's a decent chance you're going to end up at Denver at some point in your life or another. And the follow-up, I would say that, Daniel, is, certainly follow up with a Starin, your sales rep or anything like that if you've got an opportunity handy and we need to get a demonstration happen. I feel like a demo for a ceiling speaker is a lot easier than some other products. Andrew's got a great question, you guys. I got to get it in the chat here, and this may get a little more into the weeds than we have or not, but if you've been on the show, everybody knows that I love to be in the weeds. It's my favorite place. The technical stuff is the most fun for me, but not everyone. Andrew wants to know, is the captive screw connector shown on the front of the baffle, on the front baffle, the audio input, or something else?
Yeah, so that's actually something that's common across the Design Max line and the Edge Max line. The termination and the transformer tap are on the front of the loudspeaker. So there's a knockout built into the loudspeaker enclosure. It can accept conduit if you're in a space like Chicago where everything needs to be in conduit, but your cable comes through the loudspeaker housing and terminates on the front. So what that means is when you go to do the install, we have spring-loaded dog ears. So you cut your hole, put the tile bridge in, push the speaker up, the dog ears snap out, and the speaker will hold itself from there. So then you tighten the dog ears, you've got your cable through, you can terminate it from below the ceiling, you can set your speaker taps from below the ceiling, and then it's a magnetic grill that covers it. So that means you're doing all your work from under the ceiling, and it means if you have to go back and adjust speaker taps or check a termination because something's not working, any of that stuff can happen without having to get above the ceiling.
That's awesome. If anybody who's worked in the field knows that if you're going to change taps or anything like that, that means you're taking speakers out usually. That definitely makes the workflow better. One more EdgeMax question. I'm going to rush these a little bit, but one more EdgeMax question from an anonymous was, if we install, can EdgeMax speakers be on walls? Are they specifically and solely designed for speakers? Are there applications where you would see them low on walls or anything like that? Or are we sticking to ceilings with this product?
So as a general rule, we stick to ceilings with this product. Because of the nature and the shape of its coverage. If you put it on the wall firing down, you've got a very narrow beam cut going down the side of the wall. It's not going to project into the room very much. That being said, we've got some applications where we've looked at, groups we're doing like animatronics. You can put it in the floor underneath the animatronic to project out, do it upside down.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Some unique applications
itself in pretty much any orientation, but it doesn't perform the way it does in the ceiling if you mount it on the wall.
The perfect sense, and that's a great answer. I appreciate that. I was thinking, unique applications, museum experiences, theme parks, things like that is maybe where we would see something. I'm going to ask one last question about EdgeMax, and just for the sake of time, we're going to keep it moving. Is there anything, if I was going to go buy an EdgeMax today, is there anything on the roadmap where you would say to me, hey, you should wait till this iteration comes out? Is there anything super exciting? Or is this design pretty much what we're looking at for the foreseeable future? If I start developing projects,
the exciting part has already happened, and it just, David, that's shipping this month? Just started shipping?
Yep.
So
yes.
the original EdgeMax, anybody who does installs will cringe when I say this. The original EdgeMax is 9.5 inches deep, which made it, kind of a no-go. I live in Baltimore, so DC, New York, those are places I work, and couldn't fit it anywhere. We at Infocom launched EdgeMax LP, which is low profile, so it is 3.9 inches deep. On the incredibly dangerous assumption that everybody else followed code, that'll fit anywhere. But yeah, so it's the same compression driver. It's a smaller woofer. It has the same sensitivity. So given the same amount of power, it will put out the same amount of sound. And it has the same frequency response, but it has a 6 decibel lower ceiling on its maximum output.
Got it.
But that's
going to cover a lot of applications still.
We have a speech only mode in the EQ presets that rolls off the low end to protect the woofer and lets the compression driver go full bore for applications like using it in under balconies and stuff like that. You can still get the same amount of output because it is the same compression driver.
Cool. Awesome.
And for, to answer the question nobody's asked yet, it's not a full 2x2 ceiling tile. It is 13.5 inches so that it can fit between wood joists if you need it to.
Perfect. I see Terry, the world famous Terry Torson in the chat, and it's ironic because one of Terry's old offices was the first place I saw EdgeMax. So Terry, shout out to you for showing up, and I love to see it come full circle, you guys. We have a lot of great questions, everyone. I appreciate it. Keep them coming. I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit because this is, I want to now get into maybe some Bose Pro solutions that I'm not as familiar with, and particularly I'm referring to the large format stuff, the show match and arena match line. I would love if someone can give us kind of the overview of the line, the 30-second version, and B, a little bit background about like how Bose Pro moved into this space, the problems that were presented and that Bose Pro is helping solve.
Yeah, so I will field this one, and I've got some visual aids.
Yeah.
So Bose Professional has been around for 50 years. And so we've been in the pro audio market and performance spaces for quite a while, but didn't have anything in that large format line array genre. And so about a decade ago, we came out with Room Match, which was the first of the Delta Q product line. Delta Q is a term we use for kind of our approach to large format arrays. So when you talk about traditional arrays, you have your traditional line array and you have constant curvature arrays are the two types you get. A constant curvature array, this is going to be like the JBL VRX, things like that, where each box has the same splay, they butt up against each other, and you can cover an area fairly well, but you end up having to do an incredible amount of gain shading, and you spill a lot of sound off to the sides because it's all the boxes are the same horizontal. And then with a traditional line array, you can now stack the boxes together to project farther. You can get higher SPL. You're not limited to that splay, but you're still overshooting on the sides for that far throw. And then on the near throw, you're having to use a lot of boxes for that near throw, since they're all 5 degree or 10 degree boxes. So with Delta Q, we have boxes that are variable horizontal and variable vertical. Wow. And so what that allows us to do is essentially paint the space in layers, where we use narrow, long throw boxes at the top and gradually work our way to wider short throw boxes at the bottom. Same woofers, same compression drivers, taking the same acoustic energy and just putting it over a smaller area or a smaller footprint. So the top speakers are actually more sensitive in terms of how many decibels they're putting out per watt. But the bottom ones are wider. So we now don't have to do as much gain shading as we do with a constant curvature array. We don't have to do the amount of boxes that we do for a traditional line array, because we can, instead of doing 4 gain shaded 5 degree boxes at the bottom, we can do 1 20 degree box. And we can limit the amount of overshoot we have on the sides, which, obviously this is just a model of a football field. But when you're talking about an auditorium, that means you can keep sound off of the walls and deal with the acoustics of the space without having to actually change the acoustics of the space. And that's why the original product in this line was Room Match. Room Match was discontinued in 2020. But we have Show Match, which is our installed, traditional line array type product. It is a touring version. This is the PowerPoint version of the explanation I just gave. So this is Show Match, 5 degree, 10 degree, 20 degree vertical. Okay. These boxes can be sent on tour. They were originally built for touring applications, but we see them in installed applications more than touring applications. And then we have Arena Match, which is the same Delta Q concept, but with wider boxes, so 10, 20, and 40. And they are weatherized enclosures designed for indoor or outdoor installs. So we've put these in hockey arenas, sporting stadiums, sports ball stadiums, and whatnot.
So there's a variety of applications for these large format things. I asked about the problem and the solution. As always, the problem with audio is how can you get this sound clearly and cleanly powered out to cover this area? And to your point about like auditoriums, this applies with stadiums and particularly hockey and basketball arenas. You don't want to cover and you don't want to hit certain areas because now you're creating reflections. You're going to be dealing with phase cancellation and all these types of things. So this really helps solve that by being able to more impactfully focus the power. It sounds like, is that an accurate summary?
Yeah. Awesome. It lets you take the power you're using and put it where you want it and not where you don't want it.
Perfect. I'm curious. Is this really all just in the design and in terms of picking the right boxes for the space and making sure that we, ease and map this out properly and get you the right solution? Is there anything on a software DSP side that is required to make these operate in the proper way?
No, in terms of getting the appropriate coverage, it's really just a matter of design, picking the right boxes and designing it. And that's, I mentioned that I manage the design team. that is a big part of their job. Is if you have a space where you want to put these in, send us the details on it, and we will put together a design for you. But in terms of the software side, it's kind of your standard large format loudspeaker software requirements. Is, you know, we have amplifiers that have the limiter settings and the EQ presets in there already. Ideally, you'd be using those amplifiers, and outside of that, it's all in the boxes.
That's a great segue right there. I really wanted to touch on the large format stuff, particularly because I know it's something that spending a lot more time in the corporate world and having some experience more on the visual side with stadiums and auditoriums and things like that. I really wanted to get more familiar with the large format solutions that we have from Bose Pro. I also have on my list is to ask questions about the amplification. I think when we come to talk about speakers and speaker companies, it's real easy to forget that there are other solutions, software solutions, DSP and non-DSP amplifiers. Can someone give us, kind of the intro to the amplification line and where we may want to use these solutions and where they can apply?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. I'm just pulling up the slides so that I can keep my head on straight. We have multiple lines of amplifiers. We have the traditional, the IZA amplifiers are the smallest. Those are 1-2 channel fixed at either 8 ohm or 70 volt, designed for small classrooms, background music applications, spaces like that. We have the power space line, which is your just standard, I need this line level signal added 1,000 watts, go, sort of brick of power. So cost effective, but it's not really doing any processing or anything like that. But then we get into our power share line, which is the original power share line was built in-house and is still certainly a viable product, something we sell a lot of. There's the power share 404 and 604D. Both of them are Dante endpoints. They have full DSP on board for speaker processing, limiters, delays, stuff like that. And the magic sauce with those, I'll say, is the power sharing that they do. So they're not, the 600 watt isn't a 4x150. It is 4 channels, 600 watts, however you want to divide that up. And the original power shares really can just put all 600 watts down one pipe if you need it to, or you can divide it up. So it's great in applications where you might have bi-amplified speakers, or you have a restaurant where you have a large area that has 10 speakers in it, and then another space that only has 1 in each bathroom. You can just give those bathrooms 25 watts, and that leaves the rest of the amplifier open for the other spaces. So then in taking that concept to the next level, this is the power share amplifiers, but in taking that concept to the next level, we partnered with PowerSoft and came out with the PowerShare X, which is, if you're familiar with the Quattrocanelli, they are based on the PowerSoft Quattrocanelli chassis. So it's 1204, 2404, and 4804. So 1200 watts, 4 channels, 2400 watts and 4800 watts. So it's PSX 2404D. Again, Dante endpoints, again, has all of the DSP on board for doing speaker processing. They also have some of the large format features that you expect, like the ability to do digital to analog failover, impedance monitoring, pilot tone monitoring, all of those things that you encounter in spaces like arenas where it's also a life safety system.
Right. That's you said, this is kind of the sauce, and I cannot emphasize enough how cool the power share amplifiers are for all the folks out there. These can make your design life so much easier, and also something I don't want to say nobody talks about, something I don't really hear in conversations about these amplifiers is like cost savings. Being able to utilize all of the power you have and to distribute it to places so that it can go just the necessary amount. You're not wasting, if you break it down to like dollars per watt, say, you're not wasting any power because it's on a channel that just doesn't need all that juice or something. You can really utilize it. And from a design perspective, makes life so much easier. Is it fair to say, is it correct to say, I should ask, that Bose Pro is the first manufacturer doing power sharing amongst amps? I don't know of any others or any others that had come to market first, but
yeah, so there are a lot that do it now. Obviously, the PowerSoft ones do it, but yeah, as far as I know, we were the first ones to come to market with it, because the original power share amplifiers were 10 or 15 years ago that those were released. Steve, you probably remember when they were released.
Yeah, it goes back that far, but to be honest with you, I don't know if we were the first to it, but definitely in the early adapter stage.
Yeah, first to put it on my radar, and you guys, that's really all that matters. So I just can't emphasize enough like what a innovative solution this is. Bose Pro always coming out with that stuff for everyone involved, whether you're an end user to a systems integrator, whatever. I know Philip, the sole consultant out here, definitely amplifiers. If you're not familiar with yet, you want to get familiar with, because it just makes so much sense to be able to utilize all of that power and not have to let any go to waste in terms of money and in terms of space.
So one of the things that always becomes an issue, and I used to always encounter when I was designing systems in past lives, is figuring out how much amplifier you need for what you're trying to do, and figuring out like, okay, which of the amplifiers. So we actually have a design tool for the PowerShare amplifiers that you tell it what speakers you're using, you tell it how many you're putting on each channel, and then you can drop it between the amplifiers, and it'll tell you how much headroom you have on the amp as a whole.
That's awesome. Where can we access that?
That is a download from the PowerShare section of our website. So if you go to the product page for the PowerShare product line, there's a big splash screen for the PowerShare design tool.
Not me going to the website and making a big webinar to go check this out. BoseProfessional.com, folks. You can go there and dig it up. So at least we can get the location. You guys, we've got about 12 minutes left. There are a couple other questions I want to ask and kind of move into. Is there any, hold on, we got a question. Philip, that's a great question, and I'm going to save everyone else here from diving into the weeds with us and make a note of it and get you help after. That's a good one. Sorry, everybody, for my delay there. Philip, we'll get you some help on that. I'm going to keep the conversation moving just for the sake of time. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the portable solutions, which, we touched on right at the beginning. Bose Professional. I mean, Bose Professional. This is one of the most recognizable name brands to ever exist, arguably on the planet. I don't want to, bring up hyperbole or anything like that, but I mean, this is a huge brand name, and the portable solutions are something that everybody has seen. Bose Pro certainly innovating in this area and leading the way, coming out with these solutions early in the game, and we've seen similar solutions from other manufacturers. Can you guys give us a touch base on the couple of solutions in the portable lineup and kind of how they stand apart from anyone else out there trying to imitate the form factor?
Yeah, that's that category has obviously been extremely successful for us. It originally was designed for, many manufacturers have been doing line arrays for quite a while, in different forms of fashion. Some for concerts, some for we were building arrays for theme parks and doing custom arrays, building into like fake trees and stuff down in Florida at the parks, and building stuff that, if you guys remember a long time ago at Gate 02s, I remember seeing some images of custom arrays on big, large boats out in Fiji for their surfing competition, so they could actually get the messages and stuff out to the surfers. So some really wild stuff. But that line array technology, they wanted to make sure they able to take that type of concept and bring it down to a form where they could use it for musicians. That's where it originally started, and they took at that point and made it into a, was it L1 Classic was what it's called. I can actually show you real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say if somebody can bring us up some visuals to
John,
go.
you've got your, I think you're still sharing.
Yeah, I can stop sharing.
We'll get the switch over here. I was just pinging you on the side there. Yeah, I'd love to if we can get some visuals to follow along. While Steve pulls that up, folks, please do get your questions in our last 10 minutes here.
I'm getting out of this Edge Max stuff.
Yeah, I don't bring
this. Oh, I do have images. This is what I was talking about with the. I wasn't kidding. They were building 802 arrays out on yachts so they could actually drive the information out to surf competition.
Oh, imagine.
And this is the custom array. So anyway, we were doing this quite a while ago, and I don't know all the engineers involved with it, but the concept was to. This goes back to 2003 when they launched this, so it's quite a while ago. And they were the concept was to get rid of a lot of the stuff that's on the stage. So you have the backline amps, you've got the main PAs, monitors, etc. So the sake of saving you guys some time, this caught and did pretty well. Came out with the L1 Classic. Of course, for those of you that come from the days of very large boxes that go up on tripods, you're looking at this like it's an alien. But now look at the industry. So it's done quite well. I'm gonna skip over this kind of gives you a quick visual of what a true line source is doing. So it's controlling the vertical pattern in a challenging room, and obviously giving you a very nice wide horizontal pattern. So with one L1, we can cover a very wide range of space, whether it's for music or for other applications. Again, we're getting rid of a lot of the reflections off the walls, kind of like what John was talking about with the other concept of design with Delta Q, but this is with a line source. And then over time, over on the left, you can see that line array. They found that by articulating those drivers, they could actually smooth out the pattern even more. So that got rid of a little bit of the beaminess. And we started finding this in other applications. So we found that DJs didn't want to lug around. I think the DJs were getting older and didn't want to bring the big, large boxes around. Had the concept down in the listening room down in Nashville, PA systems, etc., and really did quite well. So I think to answer your question, Joe, you can't stand in the same spot. You got to keep developing the products. So they came out with the Grand Prix, which was actually we needed to improve portability, performance, usability, and aesthetics. So the old model, they had separate subwoofers called B1 subs. And you could stack 4 using a little separate amp, if I remember that correctly. What they did on the next version is they made what's called a racetrack driver, which gives a pretty substantial output, actually more output on bass for efficiency in the low end. So here are the models, the newer models called L1 Pro 8, 16, and 32. And those numbers just represent the number of drivers that are in those arrays. So the one that's a true line source you'll find is the 32, and that uses a separate sub. These are basically the coverage patterns from these 3 models. Again, the horizontal for these are 180. So even with like a Pro 16, you can cover one left and right of a stage. You can do a pretty significant good size event with just those 2. And the IOs wanted to clean that up as well. So they got rid of, a lot of the different adjustments. Like just to give you an example, like the volume control you see on the top left, when you press those down, that gives you a more adjustment for, you'll get 3 different adjustments out of each one. This is the back of, I think the 8 or the 16.
So not to steal some analog verbiage, almost like a push pull type of pot that expands some functionality. I got you.
Yep.
I got you. The chat's going off a little bit about this lineup and solution as I eye it up right now, and I can't elaborate enough. If you haven't heard these,
Yeah.
find an opportunity to hear them. They do sound incredible. The amount of power they can push out while still remaining so clear. Signature Bose Professional, right there, by being able to push out a ton of power clearly and keeping it very focused. I have seen these used in applications. I literally have a relative who runs a karaoke company, and these are the speakers that they use. I have friends who are gigging musicians, and this is what they use as their portable setups. I've also seen these in, I don't want to say permanent install situations, but they're set up and left in place in smaller venues and things like that. I've seen DJs use them. You alluded to that as well. I mean, it's almost endless.
You have a lot of hotels that, if you guys have all noticed, that they're using the rooftop now for revenue. They're creating a bar or a lounge up there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was at one time a decision not to run sound or conduit, or they didn't prepare for that. So these, just taking a couple of the 16s or 8s up on the top of a hotel lounge rooftop bar, provides a pretty significant coverage for those. But these, don't let the size fool you. I mean, these will get anywhere from 118 to 128 max SPL. The new subs have a much more greater efficiency and good low end, bottom end. And you'll have, I think, I wanted to show you real quick on the sub options. There are small sub 1s to sub 2s, and both of them can be arranged in a cardioid pattern. So if you're using this for worship or for maybe a higher ed application or any education application, you can set these up left and right of stage, and then we're pretty decent.
One of the things you may have noticed in a lot of the pictures Steve was showing, the array was actually far upstage, firing through the band. And that's one of the things that you never, ever want to do with a point source loudspeaker, but you can do with these because that line source behavior is the result of the driver's coupling. When you're in that near field and the drivers haven't coupled yet, you're only hearing a couple of them at really low level. So you can, if you have a dynamic microphone like an SM58, you can stick it right in front of the loudspeaker and not have feedback issues, which means you can set that up behind the band and in some applications actually use those as the stage monitors.
That's so dynamic. I don't know where my camera went, you guys. That just disappeared on me. But look, we're right at the end of this. I'm gonna let it ride. There was one question I want to make sure we get in here. Kevin had asked specifically, can the portable L series connect to multiple systems? Can we connect multiple of them together and use Bluetooth for the playback? I know that's a popular question, I think, and the wireless capability is certainly something people are looking for. Is that native to those? Can we connect a couple together?
So in order to connect them together, they have a line out, so you can take a line out from one and connect it to the next, but that's going to be a physical connection. It's not going to be something that's done wirelessly.
Got it. That makes good sense. Watch me just.
Yeah, they do have Bluetooth built into it, though.
Yes, yeah. You and so in that situation, if you connected to the first one in the series using Bluetooth, that would carry through the whole line. Got it.
Appreciate it, you guys. I'm gonna get this bumped off and moving. The team from Bose, where can the folks find you? You guys on LinkedIn, if they want to get a hold about opportunities and things like that. What do you recommend?
Dave, you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So just real quickly, one of the other thing that I wanted to mention was our design desk. So John mentioned earlier that he manages our design desk. This is a huge, tremendous value to all you out there, where we can, if you've got an opportunity, bring it to Starin, they'll bring it to us, or you can send it to us directly. And basically what we'll do is, if I can, real quickly try and share the screen here and just show you
absolutely
what we got. And I did, it's pretty amazing. Okay, cool. So John and team, they'll give you everything you need, from ease drawings, speaker placement, block diagrams, recommended bill material. And all of this is no charge to the integrator. So it's a really amazing value. And if you haven't worked with us before, if you're considering working with us, or if you worked with us in the past, it's kind of a new feature that's added. So I'd say definitely take advantage of that if you can. And let me know if you have any questions.
Dave, how are folks gaining access to these resources? Is it connecting with your Starin rep to engage in that conversation?
That's correct. Yeah. Talk to your Starin rep, and they'll just really kind of with as much information as you can. Obviously, if you talk to John, he would love to have like a full set of plans, as much information as you can get. Certainly pictures, at least pictures, and an idea of what they're looking for to kick off the conversation.
Qualify your projects, people. That's what we're saying, and bring us as much info as you can, and that will give you a better experience engaging with the team back the other direction. I think that's kind of the important call out there. You guys, thanks so much. We could, there's things we didn't even cover. It seems like we could spend a whole episode just chatting about each of these solutions individually. We're super excited to have the partnership going on, and what we're going to, events and the trade shows in the future and all the cooperation. So I want to say shout out to you guys for joining us and giving us all this great info. We do have a gift card giveaway. I hit my random name generator, and a couple of you had some great questions that I really appreciate you bringing to the table. And so I threw your name in there a couple extra times. And so congratulations to Daniel. I don't want to mess up your last name, Daniel. Our team will get in touch with you for some follow-up after this. As always, thanks to you guys for joining us. Thanks to the Bose team, Bose Pro team, for being here and giving us all this great info. And we will see you next time on the AV Exchange.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Joe.